Hello, hello. I'm Juliana Hever, the plant-based dietitian, and this is the What Would Juliana Do Q&A. Many of you reached out to me and asked me about carbs. And so I wanted to talk today about debunking this macro confusion. I want you to not worry about counting carbs or proteins or fats, and instead I want you to focus on eating whole, beautiful plant foods like vegetables, fruits, whole grains, legumes, mushrooms, nuts, seeds, herbs, and spices in infinite tasty combinations. Carbohydrates, what do you really need to know about them? Not that much. Don't worry so much. Instead, think about getting more fiber. That is probably the most important thing. You hear me talk about that all the time. So important for a healthy microbiome to eat fiber. Where do we find fiber? Exclusively in plants. Only in plants. And there's all sorts of different fibers. We used to talk about them being soluble and insoluble, but now there's viscous and gels and gums and mucilages and all sorts of quite, a lot of different types of fibers. And so this is why you get a wide variety of them from eating these different plant foods that I mentioned. So make sure that you are eating a wide variety. Make sure you're eating the rainbow every day. Go for the whole version instead of the refined version. So when you get, for instance, say a wheat kernel, an actual wheat, like a whole wheat, a piece of wheat, the whole grain, okay? And then every time you take away some of the fiber and strip it to the next derivation, you go to pasta, and then you go to flour, and then you go to white flour, and all of those derivations away from the original intact form, you are losing fiber as well as other nutrients. So it's important to stick to as whole of a grain as possible and to choose the most natural state of it. So like brown rice instead of white rice, 100% whole grain or even sprouted grain when you're doing a bread or a pasta. So just trying to go for the original, back to the original. And the other thing you should know about carbohydrate is that you don't want to consume refined sugars, really. That's one of the most interesting things, because basically all whole foods have some combination of protein, carbohydrates, and fat, except for something like refined sugar, which is pure carbohydrate. It's just pure sugar. It just acts very differently metabolically than if you were to eat an apple or any kind of fruit. So think about it in terms of fiber and think about it in terms of sugars. And so we really want you to focus on those whole food sources and the intact sources as much as possible. Again, you're going to find plenty of these healthy sources in legumes, beans, lentils, peas. All of those foods are wonderful sources of starch and starchy vegetables. There's just so many different types of carbohydrate rich, in a good way, foods that you can enjoy. So I hope that helps. Let me know if you have any further questions and reach out to me either here in the comments or on my website, plantbaseddietitian.com. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you next time.